forms of ID. That's all I have to say.
So if you could submit your questions, please, to that email address, and then we'll get those responses.
Okay, thank you.
Patty Brown here.
Yes.
Patty? My name is Patty Brown, and I'm with the Iowa Policy Institute. I'm also a PhD student at Iowa State. I'm currently working on dissertation work in the Department of Rhetoric and Professional Communication. Several years ago, I returned to Iowa State to get a second graduate degree. It was a master's degree in journalism and mass communication. My master's thesis focused on how the Iowa press had covered the stories of immigration raids in both Marshalltown and Postville. I was interested in knowing how that coverage may have influenced Iowa people's attitudes toward the topics of immigration. As part of my research, I was allowed to use some unpublished research on public opinion polling that had been developed by the University of Iowa Poll. What my research found was that Iowans are extremely broad-minded and generous and welcoming people. I point to our history in Iowa for welcoming the boat people in the 1970s after Governor Ray's invitation. Iowa was truly a role model to other states in this kind of refugee resettlement. My research also found that Iowans are fair-minded people. They don't like it when people break laws, and they don't like it when rules are ignored or when people cut the line. And that came out in several interviews with my research about immigration. You often hear that the U.S. is a nation of immigrants. Actually, we are a nation of the children of immigrants. Today, immigrants in the United States, both those who have come illegally and those who have either entered without authorization, but who are here and overstayed a visa or have entered, without going through the legal channels. Totally, they comprise about 43.7 million people in the United States, about 1 in 8 residents. And of that number, some 12.8 are not here legally. Being a U.S. citizen is an honor, and we have always afforded the right to vote to the citizen. It makes no sense that someone who might be called to jury duty from our voter rolls would recuse themselves, from voting or from being able to participate in jury duty because they're not a citizen. But by the fact that they are on our voter rolls to begin with, they have said that they are a citizen. If someone is called to jury duty and they're not a citizen and they're on our voter rolls, I would suggest we have a problem.
Thank you for your comments.
Cindy Pollard?
My name is Cindy Pollard, and I'm from Jasper County, and I'm an activist, and I collect more windmills in the state of Iowa than anyone else. And you've really hampered things. I mean, you're really making my job harder. My question is, why are driver's license numbers required on absentee ballot requests and ballots if Iowa is going to have signature verification?
That's a matter of the law, so if you have comments about the rules or if you have questions about the rules, please continue.
Okay, that's all I've got. It's like, that's the one thing that I'd like to have answered.
And if you want to submit your questions to the email, we'll get back to you.
I will. Thank you.
I think the answer to your question for us, though, is that it's provided in the law.
Frank DeBartolo? Frank?
Yeah, my name is Frank DeBartolo. I live in Windsor Heights, Iowa. And basically, I don't like this law. If the Senate would have stayed Democratic instead of going Republican, and the Secretary of State would have been a Democrat, we wouldn't have this law. About 40 years ago, a man named Paul Weyrich, who was one of the founders of the conservative movement, gave a speech, and in the speech he says, "I don't want everybody to vote." And I don't remember the words that he said, except at the end he did say this pretty much verbatim. He said, "As a matter of fact, our leverage in the elections goes up as the voting populace goes down."
Excuse me, sir, do you have a comment about the rules?
Yeah.
This session is for comments about the rules that were presented.
Okay. If, from what I understand on provisional ballots, most people that give a provisional ballot give them with the idea that maybe they voted and they did. Some people call these ballots placebo ballots. The problem with the provisional ballot is that if a person is given a provisional ballot, they must be made aware of how to make that ballot actually count. From what I understand, most provisional ballots don't get counted. And that's because people think they voted, but they haven't yet. They have to fulfill certain obligations. They have to jump through certain fire hoops to make them count. And personally, I think that these laws are implemented to restrict the vote, and it pretty much favors one political party over another. And I think that that a person, I'm going to be able to vote, but a person voting who might be able to vote the same way I do, okay, may not be able to vote.
Mr. DeBarlo, we're not re-debating the law. That's been done, that's been settled. And so if you have comments about the rules.
That's my comment. What are you doing to make sure that once a person comes in and they give a provisional ballot, to make sure that ballot counts? They're going to have to fulfill certain obligations to make that ballot count. And in practice, from what I understand, most provisional ballots don't get counted. They just end up just being thrown away because the specifications of what they're supposed to do don't get done for whatever reason, and I don't know why. Okay, but a lot of it may be that people think that they've already voted. Oh yeah, I got to vote. That's why they call them. Are you counting me down?
I'm sorry, sir, you are over time, but thank you for your comments.
Okay. I am going to protest when I go to give my voter ID. I'm going to say it. I'll show you my voter ID, but I'm going to do it under protest.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
John Niederbach? John Nieder? John? Thank you.
Good afternoon. Before I get to my comments, I have to comment that I have testified in many administrative rulemaking hearings. I can't recall ever being in a room this small. I think it's extraordinary that given the great public interest there was during the legislative consideration of the underlying statute, that the decision was made to have a meeting in this small room. I understand the Secretary of State's office has limited facilities, but I've been to Department of Revenue hearings, where they chose to use the Wallace Building Auditorium. I really wish you had picked a larger room, and frankly, that leaves a really bad taste in terms of the underlying rules that are being talked about. Lots of folks have talked about the voter ID portion. I won't elaborate on those excellent comments that have been made. I would ask if any sort of data has been kept or research on the number of people on absentee voting, the number of people who voted in the past each day in order to see the impact of reducing the number of days, so that auditors, quite frankly, to be better prepared for that. And my main concern, frankly, is as somebody who plans to be on the ballot, knock on wood, in June, and hopefully November, I think we're heading to a perfect storm. You know, I've been on the ballot in Iowa a whole bunch of times for local elections and also in a statewide race. I think we're really heading for a major problem. I think we've always been very proud in Iowa we don't have excessive lines. We always point to places like Florida and see.
Excuse me, Mr. Maribot, do you have comments on the rules?
Yeah, I think the rules are not addressing the perfect storm we are about to encounter. I think it's very much in the rules. I think it is absolutely the obligation of the Secretary of State's office to understand that if these rules go into effect as written, we're going to have major lines waiting to get into the polls unless a lot of additional resources are deployed. I would urge the Secretary of State's office to figure out ways to streamline the process in the rules. Because, again, given the physical configuration of many voting places, the limits, the challenge of getting additional poll workers, I think these rules are heading for very major problems in terms of lines and people being turned away from the polls as evening falls, as the hours of voting occur. I would urge the Secretary of State's office to develop realistic estimates under these rules about additional money that will be needed for resources to avoid big lines at the polls and bring that back to the legislature so they can deal with it.
Thank you for your comments, sir. You're
Thank
out of
you.
time. We are after the hour 4 o'clock, but we will take one more speaker.
Will be Deidre DeJar? Deidre?
Hello, my name's Deidre DeJar. I'd really like to know who you all are. I wasn't in here when you began.
Why don't you go ahead and speak and we'll finish.
May I know who you are, please?
Dawn Williams, Director of Elections.
Thank you. Thank you.
Carol.
Thank you. Thank you. As I said, my name is Deidre DeJar, and before you ask, there is a question about the rules in my comment. I would like to start in saying that I'm not originally from Iowa. I'm originally from Mississippi, and when my dad was born, he didn't have the right to vote. Many of you all who are his age, African Americans, did not have that opportunity to vote. So growing up, I didn't have the opportunity to hear about voting because that wasn't the topic of conversation that was in my house. We talked about hard work, we talked about the importance of education, but not voting. So it wasn't until I got to Drake University or I learned the importance of voting, how the process works, and how a little 18-year-old can have some impact in the realm of voting. And so when I looked at the rules, I was a little disappointed to see the potential barriers that might be there for our college students, our young adults, who are coming from all over the country and utilizing Iowa as their basis of education. Voting is a huge and tremendous fundamental factor when we think about the basis of education. And so one of the aspects of the rules that I'm not very clear on is the requirement for IDs as it relates to student IDs, whether or not there should be an expiration date or an expiration date, depending upon whether or not that ID would be valid. That's one thing. The other thing is this, as you have stated, this bill is passed. And my dad always told me, rather than harp on a hurdle, figure out a way to get over it. And so one thing that is not in this rule that I think would be ever more important, there are going to be some barriers for people because the process of voting has changed. We cannot get over that fact. People need to know how this process has changed. I would like to see in the rules a mandate for education coming from the Secretary of State's office. That is not present, and it needs to be present because Iowans deserve to know how voting has changed. The last thing that I want is for that woman's 95-year-old mother to go to the polls and realize she can't go to the polls because she doesn't have an ID, and all of the processes that it took for her to get there, she has to be turned away. So those are my comments, and I hope to see some changes. I did not have prepared an email, but if that is required for those things to happen, I can make sure that it does happen. Thank you.
So for persons who have questions that they would like to have us answer, please send an email to to Eric Buchan, and we will get those questions answered.
Can you spell that name, please?
It's,
Oh, I can't read that from here.
So it's BRIC.GOOK@sos.iowa.gov.
Thank you.
Will we get a confirmation that the email has been received? Not that I don't trust, it's just bouncing and something.
I would also like to say from what Ms. Mary had said. When it comes to felons, it's called taxation without representation. Plus, it's also very racist with what's going on here. Also,
Excuse me, sir, could you give us your name?
Chris Robinson,
And where are you from, sir?
Des Moines.
Okay. And that is a matter of the
No.
Iowa Constitution, it's not a
But,
matter of these rules.
no, you haven't even heard me out. The thing is, there are folks that we want to penalize them still today and consider them a felon, even though they haven't done anything wrong from 10 to 20 to 30 or 40 years. But we still want to consider them a felon, and so they still can't vote. And so that's not right. And so you also need to have something in your rules when it comes to them folks, that they have the right to vote, because I guarantee you, as this state, they still take their taxes from them when they have a job, which is part of their requirement is to have a job, and the state is taxing them, but they can't vote. That's called taxation without representation. It's really illegal, but that's what this state has been doing for many, many years. And this ain't the only state. There's a bunch of states that are doing the same thing. And it's against the law, but if you want to talk about rules, I'll come up with some rules for that.
Thank you for your comments, sir. And
Carol,
so
what is your timeline here?
the rules need to be filed in final form, I believe, this week.
Okay.
And
And
as
then
we are,
go into.
we will have the final, we will consider all the comments that have been received today as well as prior to today, and we will re-examine our administrative rules and make sure that we have addressed concerns that haven't been addressed in the rules, and we will be filing them this evening.
So for the rest of us that didn't get a chance to speak today, I think there's at least 10 more that want to speak. How should we address our grievances, since our opinions are valid, I believe?
Everybody's opinion is valid. You can send an email to Mr. Buchan.
All right.
So just so I'm understanding, they go in by the end of the week, and then was it like December when everything goes into these rules go into effect immediately?
No, they would go into effect the end of December.
Okay. I think I saw it early, said December 13th.
I'd just like to quickly say that the ACLU of Iowa will be having a quick press conference out in the hall directly after the hearing. Thank you.
Excuse me? Sure.
SOS.iowa.gov. So whatever you wanted to say, it will get included in the record.
Put it one way and they said it another way, and so I'll leave it to you.
Oh, thanks. How are you doing? Good.
Are you doing?
Those who are not able to speak have been asked to send their...
To send the message, yeah.
Send an email.
I didn't know if they were going to do a press.
Well, ACL, I just heard before I came out of the room, someone from the ACLU said that they're doing a presser out here somewhere.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I don't know if it's in this area. I have to go back into that room and get my backpack crap. Excuse me?
Yeah. Are you doing a press conference?
I gotta go back in and get my backpack.
Yeah.
I forgot my backpack. I better get it out of here. That's okay.
That security check in place that their website.
Okay. Have a door. Yep. Told that only accredited press could go in there, but I've never gone into a state meeting where I've had to be quote unquote accredited, but it's okay. Right. But then the other guy snuck me in the back way. Keeping my recording going, waiting for a press conference to start featuring a representative of the ACLU of Iowa. There's another local TV channel here, KCCI Channel 8, and he is taking interviews from meeting participants and attendees. Some who spoke and some who are not able to speak. The sign that says dissent is patriotic. Inside the room, I don't know if you were able to hear it, but during the last couple of comments, there was some chanting, let them vote, by people who are not able to get into that small room. So that might not have shown up on the audio, but if it did, but you cannot understand it, that's what they're saying. They're chanting, let them vote. I am recording this offline because I could not get Wi-Fi signal. So once I get home, I will upload this directly to YouTube. where I archive all of my streams and other offline videos that I record at the local events and meetings here in Des Moines. Other concerns about the new election rules being proposed may not have been addressed here. Senior citizens who live in residential facilities do not have to have an ID, yet seniors who do not get out but live at home, they are required to get an ID, but maybe they are not able to get one. There are also other natural-born citizens who were not issued birth certificates for whatever reason, or they have lost their birth certificates and do not have any other proof of their birth in the United States. So that makes it difficult for them to get an ID. If those records were destroyed or never kept to begin with, or that person was born at home and it was never reported to the county or city where they were born, that could preclude them from, or prevent them from getting an ID later on. Or just lost due to a disaster such as a flood or fire, or they had their ID stolen but do not have the means to get a new one. If they are homeless, it's harder to get an ID. And there are maybe, who knows how many disabled people who are not able to get an ID for various reasons. They could be disenfranchised. And Iowa is one of a few states where convicted felons never are allowed to vote again, even after they have completed their sentence, unless they petition the governor's office. And Governor Branstad only issued 9 requests, allowed 9 felons to get their voter ID, their voter rights back, out of probably hundreds that are submitted every year. Will that be the same with Governor Reynolds? Who knows? It'll be something to watch here in Iowa if felons request Governor Reynolds to grant them their voting rights back. Will she follow the same lead as Branstad and only honor a few of those requests? Or will she even issue even fewer or none at all? And there may be some who are not convicted felons, but who have been stripped of their voting rights based on false information that they were a felon, or that they can prove that they're a national-born citizen, but yet they were declared or deemed a non-citizen and have been either prevented from registering to vote or have their voting rights stripped in a voter purge. I myself was purged in 2012. I was able to participate in the Iowa caucuses, but not in the general election, because I was told that it was because of loss of citizenship. And I have my birth certificate right there, but apparently that wasn't good enough. A birth certificate, to me, does not say you are in fact a citizen of the United States. It only states where you were born and when, and who were your birth parents. small signs that say let people vote. Let's get a close up of one.
Thanks for explaining that. Hey, do we get a tight shot of it in their hand real quick?
I just picked up a paper that someone dropped. I did it so she could continue her interview.
I think all of that speaks to just the feeling that they're trying to limit our access to our democracy.
How do you feel about the email situation? Do you feel it's a good way to have some contact elected officials when they ask some questions and everything?
It's a lot more powerful to be able to speak to them face to face, like I was able to do today. It's also unfortunate that there was no timeline set for when people might hear back, to know that their comments are even being read or considered.
I think you need a little more stuff.
Yeah, no kidding. So I'm Veronica. I'm the communications director of the ACLU.
I'm Kaylin Strain.
Okay. And are you a blogger or are you?
Well, I record. I tell people that I work solely for my viewers.
Yes, good.
Yes.
That's a good reason to.
No organization pays me. Although I got into one event on behalf of an organization, but when I went out to cover a protest, and then went back in to cover more of the stuff going on inside, they wouldn't let me and my partner back in because they said we were part of the protest. World Food Prize last year.
To have a press pass.
I think everybody is pretty much leaving. I don't know if they're still going to do a press conference. She's bagging up signs over there, so I think everybody's getting ready to bug out of here. So.
Oh, I was going to get up and tell you.
planet.
Oh, they were, clearly.
American for Prosperity. I'm like, is this on WHO radio today? Is this why?
I thought it was for that. She's not stupid.
Oh.
Oh, was she the angry one? She was my master's degree this time. I keep saying, none of which had anything to do with this. And everyone else
She's actually like really short. So like about small anyways, right?
Oh, right.
What? Yeah, those people that said that they're people who declared non-citizens for jury duty, they could have been natural-born citizens and simply wanted to get out of jury duty.
Well, that's what I was sort of stumbling when I was trying to talk. That's what I was trying to say when I said it's the most fundamental right, and it doesn't have anything to do with whether you're well-behaved.
Yeah.
Even whether you're a criminal or not, you still have the freaking right to vote.
Yeah. So if I was called for jury duty, I could declare I'm a non-citizen, and that would be reflected in a court document, but yet they would see that I have a birth certificate from Omaha, Nebraska.
Right.
But, you know, so would my voting rights be revoked as a result of that if I were to do that? Possibly, yeah. I mean, I was purged in 2012.
Right. Anyway, I got a scoop.
Yeah.
Kaylin.
Yep. Hey, catch you on the flip side.
Yes.
Well, I think I'm going to call it done. I'm going to shut this thing down, and I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to make these troopers jealous because I'll be going back outside. So thanks for watching, and catch you on the flip side.